Welcome to U.S. Defense Line Channel. Russia's plans revealed. Secret Russian documents seized in a critical area. Remarkable news spread from the country's largest secondary region. Critical documents and military equipment seized from the reclaimed areas are increasing day by day. Moreover, the number of captured and surrendered Russian soldiers began to increase. Russia is losing at least 500 soldiers in just one day. These losses raise concerns in Moscow. Russia's only solution now is to retreat and face its losses. As it is known, Ukrainian units were able to gain advantage many times thanks to the Russian military equipment they captured in the areas they advanced. In fact, hidden spots and warehouses continue to be discovered in many regions. Military equipment and ammunition in these warehouses were confiscated. In fact, with these seized Russian ammunition, attacks were carried out against the critical points of the Russian soldiers many times. This caused Russia to be hit with its own weapons. Ukraine's strategic progress still continues. According to breaking news, Ukrainian troops reported critical developments from the Izium region this time. An area was discovered that was created when this area was controlled by Russian troops. In this area, secret Russian documents were revealed. According to what was stated, there were various plans for different purposes within these documents. Russia can no longer carry out unexpected attacks and moves due to the emergence of every step. On the contrary, Ukraine is accelerating and increasing its move day by day. Especially developments in critical regions are of greater importance for countries. As the operations continue on the Kharkiv front, where this region is located, the Russian troops are starting to get more and more difficult. As it is known, this region is the second largest region of the country. This makes it more important for countries to achieve full dominance in the region. Because the country that can achieve full dominance in the region will have more deployment area. More you deploy, the easier it will be to advance and attack. According to breaking news, a group of Russian soldiers were taken prisoner in Lugansk. Then another group of Russian soldiers surrendered. Russia is starting to become completely helpless after the military losses it has inflicted one after the other. As a result of operations in Donbass, Russian soldiers are cornered. Mobilized soldiers are making heavy criticisms of the commanders. Internal turmoil could break out at any moment between the military administration in Moscow and the army. Operations in the Svatov region on the Lugansk front are intensifying. In the last video, we talked about the importance of this region. To remind you, if full dominance can be achieved in this region, the supply flow of Russian soldiers to the Lugansk front will decrease greatly. This will cause more strain on the Russian troops at the front. Many Russian soldiers have already given up thanks to escalating operations. Thanks to its strategic advance, Ukrainian troops constantly leave Russian soldiers in a desperate situation. Moreover, since these soldiers are often abandoned by their commanders, they may not know how to proceed and what moves to make. This causes them to be taken prisoner or forced to surrender. Otherwise, we saw that they suffered serious losses. It is estimated that all these developments took place especially for mobilized soldiers. Because in recent days, it has been seen that the shares of the Russian soldiers who were mobilized about their heavy criticism and complaints against their commanders have spread. Thereupon, it is clear that the motivation of these Russian soldiers regarding the war has also decreased. Moreover, with such developments, we can say that the declaration of mobilization on the Russian side began to result in its own detriment. We can see from the increased losses of Russian military resources after this mobilization that this situation did not turn out well for Russia. In addition, Russia gave the number of Russian soldiers who fought on the territory of Ukraine. According to Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin's claim, Russia's 50,000 soldiers are currently fighting on Ukrainian soil. But as it can be seen, hundreds of them suffer serious losses every day either from lack of education or from being misled. This makes it not important to have too many Russian soldiers on the fronts. Because the Ukrainian troops, no matter how many they are, stand in front of the Russian soldiers with all their struggle, preventing many of their moves and removing them from the regions. But these situations have started to turn out very badly for Moscow. Russia, which has lost more than 77,000 soldiers since the beginning of the war, is trying to increase its attacks from afar unless it can find a solution for this situation. Moscow, which especially focuses on air and missile attacks, has to face failures in this regard. Because, as it is known, Ukraine, which already has a very successful air defense unit in the war, will do everything to avoid Russian military equipment in the Ukrainian skies, thanks to the air defense systems coming from the countries. This may cause Russia to play the last trump card in vain. Moreover, it is known that the number of missiles in his possession began to decrease. In fact, Russia had withdrawn from the Black Sea for fear of damage to the expensive missiles it had in the past days. After the tension in the Black Sea increased in recent days, Russia, which wanted to move its missiles away from the sea, gave the impression of withdrawing by deploying it to the Mediterranean. Considering that these ammunitions, which are quite expensive, are also difficult to replace, it is an obvious fact that they have to start using them more cautiously. Because now the skies of Ukraine are starting to be protected by air defense systems from many countries. This could significantly reduce Russia's random airstrikes. This is because he knows that these air defense systems are quite powerful and effective. In other words, even if an attack is carried out, as we think that these attacks can be prevented by these advanced systems, the decrease in attack power will increase even more. On the other hand, mutual attacks continue on many fronts. Armies of both countries are increasing their moves, especially on the eastern and southern fronts. However, there is an obvious Ukrainian advantage. In recent days, the attacks of Russian troops have been constantly blocked in the increasing mutual attacks. Ukrainian troops, on the other hand, both neutralize many Russian soldiers and strengthen their existing resources by confiscating many Russian military equipment thanks to their simultaneous and various advances. All these developments will become more important in the course of the war in the coming days. This will raise each step taken to a more critical level than the previous one. In these days when the violence of the war has increased considerably, various factors, such as the support of the countries towards Ukraine or the sanctions against Russia, are even more important. Any move that could determine the fate of the war must be carefully carried out by both sides. Mistakes made now may cause countries to enter an irreversible path. In time, it will be seen how countries will progress and what steps they will take. With these steps, the course of the war will become clearer. It seems that every decision of the country's leaders and commanders has to be made in a strategic direction. Especially the moves made in critical areas determine the progress of the war more clearly. Because, as it is known, as regional controls are provided, the proximity to the regions to be advanced increases. In this way, it becomes even easier to carry out strategic plans for deploying and attacking. This further increases the success of the country's troops, which have the advantage and control more regions. Moreover, as the achievements increase, the motivation within the army and the country also increases. We have seen how important this motivation is on the Russian side. Because of the many failed moves since the beginning of the war, the motivation of the Russian troops and Russia has dropped considerably. This causes the morale of the soldiers on the front to decrease and their defeats increase. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.